Hello everybody and welcome back to my garage Zero to Hero. Alright, so it is another beautiful morning. As you can see, the sun is up already. And yeah, I took out the trash already this morning. So yeah, we are about to head back to our shop. And you might be wondering where I got all of the money from that I just picked up off my table. So that is actually money for our next project vehicle that we just got in. And yes, that is in fact the reason why Hugo called us in the last episode. So yeah, we're just gonna jump into our little ladder wagon here, or actually grandma's old ladder wagon. We're gonna take it over to our shop and we're gonna get a nice little head start on today's work. So yes, Alan also in fact closed up shop. He has left on his holiday. His wife and he are basically on holidays for now. So yeah, there's just a couple of closed doors there. But we are going to be getting some work from him as well on his time of absence or while he's on holiday. So yeah, you can clearly see there's nothing going on here. It's absolutely dead quiet. But yes, let's make our way over to our shop where there is in fact going to be a lot of things going on. Alright, and we are over here at our shop. And yes, I used the old ladder wagon a little bit to get a couple of things for our little shop we've got over here. So now, as it happened, the front suspension actually collapsed. That's how hard I have been working this poor little car. So yeah, you might be wondering, how did I get the Chevy Camaro up onto the Ram truck over here? So the thing is, I actually mounted the inline 6 engine from Lance's truck, as well as the gearbox, and I actually managed to get this thing running, but it runs very poorly, and we definitely need to invest in some tires for this thing soon, because we are also missing a wheel at the back. So I kind of took a chance just by using this thing as it is, but it did an amazing job getting this car back over to our shop. So yeah, this is in fact a customer called Kyle. He's a friend of Hugo's. So he actually wants to convert this thing into a dragster. So yeah, there's not a lot left of this car. There's actually a bunch of stuff missing, like interior panels and stuff like that. But we don't need any of that if we're going to be building a drag machine. So yeah, we're probably going to offload this once we are ready for it, once we made a little bit of space over here. Because I think today we should be able to get Michael's car out of the shop. That should be something we can finish up today. So I did go ahead and take the hood off as well. So yeah, this is basically what happened. I took the table from Grandma's garage and I just placed it over here, which gives us a little bit more space to pack stuff on, especially if we're going to be working a little bit more constantly, on project vehicles. So I decided we're going to need the table a little bit more over here. And yeah, as you can see, I also went and got myself one of these shelves, which is actually good for storage, because now I can put some parts on here and also some stock that we are going to be getting in for our shop. And yes, you can see the sandbags over there. We did get ourselves a little sandblaster, which I used to get a little bit more rid of the rust on this truck bed. And there was also still some rust on the cab, which we had to sort out. So yeah, that has been basically stripped off the truck again, because as you guys know, we need to replace frame rails today. So that is also part of the agenda for today. So we're going to see if we can get those frame rails removed. I've devised a little bit of a plan to get these things removed a little bit easier. So I'll show you guys what I have come up with once we get to working on this. But I think for now, we are going to start working on Michael's engine, which, as you know, in the last episode, we got a little bit distracted by Hugo and his new project that we have to deal with for him. So yeah, we're going to basically start with the engine now. So I did clean up the little room a little bit better, so it looks a little bit more tidy now. And yeah, we are going to be installing the pistons first of all. So let's get these in over here. I should actually just tilt this engine a bit. It's going to make it a little bit easier for me if I can actually stand up and do this. So let's just turn it this way, and that way we'll be able to get these pistons in. And you can also see that I have painted the engine block the correct color. So I did go and buy myself one of those fancy color meters or colorimeters. I don't know how that's pronounced, but yes, pronounce it the way you want. So we managed to find the color code of the oil pan, and that is the color that we painted the engine block, so that should match quite nicely. So yeah, we're just going to continue with the pistons until we've got all of these pistons into place. Alright, so just make sure we tighten up all of these. Right, so there's number 5. And the 6th one, we'll just get this into place, and then I think we are good to get our oil pan back onto this engine. Right, so let's do that quickly. And then we'll spin this thing around and we'll sort out the top end. I also did go and buy a new timing chain, because the one that came off the engine was a little bit worn, so just decided to replace it. Because, I mean, we are basically busy with the engine at the moment and it's stripped all the way, so yeah, might as well replace it while we are in here. Alright, and let's get our head gasket on, and then we'll get our cylinder head installed. And now we can just get that bolted down again. So there are just 6 bolts on this, and just like that. And now we can quickly get our crankshaft sprocket on, and then we'll get our timing chain into place, just like that. And then I believe our timing cover can go on. So we'll do it this way. And we'll just button all of these things up. Alright, I believe those are all of the bolts for that. So now let's continue. We're not going to put that on just yet. We need to... where did I put it? Over there it is. Alright, so this is our power steering pump. This can actually go on as well. You just got to find the right space for it. It's somewhere over there. And we'll bolt it down. There's one more bolt back over there. And let's get our water pump installed again. I believe this goes on this side somewhere there. Alright, and let's just bolt that down. Alright, perfect. And now let's get our fuel pump mounted before we get too many things in the way over here. Alright, so that is perfect. And next up, let me just think about this. We need to secure our alternator bracket, which goes over there. And then we'll get the alternator on. Alright, there's no other bolts behind there, so that is good. Get our pulley back on. And we'll get this bolted down again, our fuel filter. Right, let's grab our oil filter, which actually was the culprit to this engine blowing. So let's just double check on this if the filter is still inside. Right, so there it is. It still looks fairly good. Right, so we'll just get that cap back on again and just secure it like that. Right, next up we can continue with our timing parts over here. So let's get that back into position. And I think it's just the one bolt on that, if I remember correctly. Right, let's just see what is next. We've got our intake and our exhaust manifold and our fuel line. So let's grab our intake over here. Right, so the intake manifold goes on just like that. We'll get that bolted down. Alright, plenty of bolts on this. Be sure to get all of them. Alright, then we're going to grab our fan last. We just need to get our alternator belt back on first. Alright, and then we'll grab our fan. Get our fan on. Just bolt it down. And we can grab our fuel lines, which actually has got some bolts over here. We need to make sure we tighten all of them. So obviously there are 6 of them, just like that. And now we can probably get our starter back on, which is actually this side. There we go. Alright, next up we've got our exhaust manifold. And we're going to bolt it down over there. Once again, plenty of bolts, so let's just make sure we've got all of them. All right, and we're just going to tilt it a little bit this way because now we just need to get our valve cover installed. And then this engine should be actually ready to go back into the car, but we need to still do our flywheel and clutch plate and the pressure plate at the back, which I actually think is a little bit easier if we just take the engine off. So let's grab this engine. We're going to put it down on the ground over here. Just let it lay like that. All right, let's grab our flywheel. All right, so there's the flywheel. All right, so the flywheel is back. Let's get our clutch plate on. And lastly, we'll get our pressure plate if it decides to go onto the engine. All right, there we go. All right, let's bolt it down before it jumps off again. And there's 2 bolts under there. Let's just get those up as well. And I believe that is basically this engine put together. Let's just grab our fuel line. We'll chuck it into the backpack. And then we're going to grab this engine. It's quite a bit of a heavy engine, but luckily it's not too far we need to carry it. All right. And now it's just a matter of bolting everything back down. So we'll start with that bolt and then we'll do the starter under here. All right, let's go around to the other side. Here we've got our earth cable. We've got our other mounting point, and also on the alternator there should be a bolt here somewhere. Let me just see if I can figure out where this bolt is. All right, so with our engine in place, whoops, I just took out my phone unnecessarily. Okay, so let's get our fuel line fitted again, and then we're gonna try and get all of those transmission bolts back into place. But let's just quickly do this first of all. We've got our fuel line to bolt down there. And then we'll start with these gearbox bolts. So there should be a couple of these. Let's just check down here. I think we got that one from the top. There should be a couple back here. Alright, so there's one over there. And we've got a bolt over there. And the one at the top over there. Alright, so that looks like everything. Alright, so last but not least, I just got to get this hood fitted, and then we're going to top up the fluids, and we're going to see how this engine is going to perform. I believe it should be 100%. Right, so there's our hood. Let's get our hood back onto the car. All right, so our car is basically put together. We just need to get the exhaust mounted as well, which is going to be definitely necessary if we're going to try and start this thing up. So we'll just bolt those 2 bolts down. And I think that is basically everything we need to do, except for coolant and obviously the oil in the engine. Brake fluid still looks good, so we're not going to bother with that. Alright, so let me grab some oil and coolant and get this fluid stopped off, and then I'm going to bring you guys back up to speed once we try and start this thing up. Alright, and I am back. So it turns out I had a bit of a challenge with getting oil in this engine, and I had to go and buy a different valve cover because this one didn't channel the oil to the right place in the engine. So I wonder if that isn't what happened with Michael. He actually had the wrong valve cover on this thing, and it didn't want to actually take the oil into the engine like it did now with the correct or the new valve cover that I put on. So that could have also been part of the issue with this thing. So it's actually fired up. I did manage to move it over here while you guys were basically on standby. So yeah, just to show you guys that it actually does do the work and it does fire up now. We're just gonna fire it up again. And there we go, it's running. Alright, so let's just give it a little short test drive. Alright, and that was a very successful test drive. This thing is definitely running the way it should now. we've got oil in the engine, and yeah, the coolant has been topped off. So let's just check this oil once again. It's still there, there's no problems. As for the coolant, yeah, we've still got some coolant in the radiator. It didn't overheat or anything just yet, but I'm sure this thing will be perfect now, ready to go back to Michael, and it's been sorted out. So yeah, it's actually a strange thing that this valve cover was actually the main problem with this engine. But yes, moving along, we've got quite a lot of work on Lance's truck, as you can see, which will be the next thing that I want to tackle. I actually left my wrench on the porch over here. So let's just come inside. We're going to grab our whole toolbox because we're going to need various tools probably for this. I'm not too sure. We'll see. But yeah, let's just close our door because it's starting to snow again. And it's a little bit chilly, but I'm sure everything will be fine. We're just going to take it nice and easy with the removal of these frames. So what I've done is I've devised the idea of replacing the frame rails one at a time, and that means obviously stripping everything off the frame. Well, yeah, everything that's attached to the frame, and that actually leaves us with just getting the one frame off at a time. So we're going to grab the new left frame rail, going to get it into position, and then we're just going to bolt everything back together, and then obviously replace the suspension parts and everything, put it all back together on the left, and then we're going to strip off everything on the left, well, on the right hand side obviously. So yeah, we just need to make sure we get all of these bolts. There's quite a few of them, and you can easily skip some of them. And then yeah, once this is done, we can basically get this thing put back together and just get it over to the paint booth that I've booked, which will probably only happen in the next episode because I told them I've still got a lot of preparation work to do. So I don't think we're going to be taking this thing to paint today, but if we can at least get it ready for its paint, then yeah, look at that thing bouncing. All right, so we've got our leaf springs back on. And then, yeah, as I said, if everything is ready for paint today, we can probably start off in the next episode by giving this thing its final paint job. So let's just see. We've got our rear shock absorber that can go back on. All right, and let's just get it into position over there. All right, that'll work. And just like that. All right, then let's do the front one. Now we still need to do the front axle, obviously, which I have not yet tried to do yet. We'll do that once this thing is done with the frame rails, because I think it's easier to do it once this thing can be lifted up and just basically put onto our two-post lift again. It's probably going to bounce a little bit. There we go. Alright, that makes it a little bit easier for us to work on this now. Let's just see if we can get to these bolts. It's a little bit tricky working on the ground like this. Let's just see if we can get it from this side maybe. Yeah, those bolts aren't the easiest to freaking reach. There we go. Alright, and let's bolt these down as well. Well, these are probably going to come off when we do the front axle. But there we go. Let's just make sure everything is nice and secure on this side when we start stripping the opposite side now. Alright, so on this side we're going to start with our shock absorber. Obviously that is one of the things that need to come off, and we'll have to take off this leaf spring. Alright, and that should do. Right, so there's our left hand, well, the right hand side. And now we just need to unbolt everything that is mounted to this frame on this side. Come to think of it, I tightened that bracket up on this side. I believe I did. Yes, that is good. Alright, let's go around to this side again. We're going to check all of the bolts. We need to take these out. Alright, and let's move back a bit. Alright, so there are double bolts on top of each other here. Don't know why that is like that, but yeah, that is just the way it works, I guess. Alright, and gonna undo these leaf spring bolts or nuts. And let's get this one removed. And we're also going to unbolt this. And that is probably the last bolt over here. I think I may have missed the shock absorber, obviously. Let's just get this shock absorber out of the way. And that leaves us with our right-hand frame, which has been removed. All right, perfect. And we'll just put that on a pile over there, because this is going to the scrap. Right, let's grab our next frame rail over here. Get that into position. Right, and let's bolt it back into place. All right, and yeah, I think we can actually put our shock absorber and everything back as we are going. It's just a little bit hard to get the right position with this thing without the leaf springs in place. There we go, that is back into place. Alright, so yeah, I think this is the easiest way of doing frame rails. I'm not really sure if there's an easier way to do this. Alright, let's get our leaf spring back on, and then it's probably going to give us a little bit of a bounce again. There we go, not too bad this time. Alright, and bolt it up there. I do just need to check all the brake lines if I may have unbolted some of them. I don't think I have. Everything should still be in place with regards to the brakes. Yeah, that all seems good. Alright, and then we're going to do our front. Alright, bolt that up. It's going to give us a bit of a bounce. Alright, and there we go. Alright, that is still tight. Alright, and we've got two nuts over here. Where's the last one? Alright, there we go. That is all nice and tight. Right, now we just need to check all of these other bolts. We've still got some bolts on the opposite side I missed. So it's best to just double check everything. Alright, there are in fact a lot of bolts on this frame. Alright, that seems to be good. And then we've got these double bolts over here once again. Very strange. And I think, hey, if I look at it now, that's basically everything. Alright, well, let's start putting the hardware back onto this thing. Alright, so we're going to start with this. Bolt that down. I nearly forgot this shock absorber. Let's just get that into place over there. Bolt it down. And over there. Alright, let's grab our right front panel again. Alright, let's bolt it down there and also back there. Right, so we're gonna do this probably next. Let's just get this thing sort of put back together. So we can grab our cab. Let's get our cab back on. Alright, so that is the cab. And we'll bolt it down. And another bolt over there. We've got two on this side. Alright, starting to look like a truck again. Alright, let's get our radiator support installed. Once we can get a hold of it. Alright, so there goes our radiator support back into place. Now we just need to bolt it up again. Alright, I believe those are the two bolts for that. And then we'll grab our truck bed over here. Once we can get a hold of it. Alright, put it into position. Just like that. And we're going to come and bolt it down. Very quick and easy. Very simple. Not hard at all. It's just a matter of knowing where all the bolts are. Alright, and bolt it up there. There's another one, and that is the last one. Alright, so that is looking fairly decent. We can also get our hood mounted because this needs to be painted. So let's get the hood back on, and we can also get the fenders put back on. Alright, and the two fenders. This is our left-hand fender. Alright, fairly decent. That is looking good so far. Alright, so obviously we're not going to mount the grille because that doesn't have to be painted. Alright, so there's our passenger fender as well. Let's bolt it down. And there we go. So that is our truck basically put back together. We just need to get our gas tank in over there and bolt it up. And there we go. She is basically in one piece. We just need to get this front axle replaced now. So I think before we do that, let's just double check if our engine oil is in fact still on level. Yes, it is. I did top that off. We still need to get the battery mounted back in order to fire this thing up. And then I'm just going to top up some coolant. And yeah, we probably have to replace the steering box as well. I nearly forgot about that. Still got some parts we need to put back onto this thing. So let's just bolt everything down over here. All right, perfect. But actually the steering box and these parts will actually go with the new front axle. So we can probably just bring this a little bit closer. All right, and we've got our front axle there. And let's just see. All right, so there's our steering box. All right, so we've got basically all of the parts we need to get back onto the truck. But I think firstly we are going to get this thing lifted up because I really want to replace that front axle. And then we'll do the coolant in the radiator and see if this thing is going to fire up again and how it's going to run. All right, so there is our lifts. Well, the lift arms are under it. We still don't have the exhaust mounted. I don't even think we have the exhaust yet, or the two exhausts. Unless if... yeah, I actually did get those fitted. All right, I was looking for them, but looks like I did actually fit them. Right, so now let's just get this thing lifted up for that front axle to come off. Alright, I think that's high enough. Alright, let's try and do this a little bit clever. So we're gonna unbolt this. I think, what do they call this? This is the tie rod. This is considered the tie rod, alright. So there's that part. And then we're obviously gonna have to unbolt the axle. Alright, and let's just see, this drive shaft is connected to that. So this needs to come off again. Alright, and then we can undo the leaf spring over there again. Alright, and yeah, it feels like I'm doing one step forward and two steps back because now the shock absorbers are coming off again. Come on, let me just reach that bolt. Alright, this might be a bit easier like this. Alright, so we'll get this one off. Alright, so we'll get that one from the top as well. Alright, so this is the shock absorber bolt at the bottom. Alright, fine, you don't have to come off when I ask you, just drop down anytime. Alright, and if I'm not mistaken, if everything is loose now on this axle, when I do the brake line on that side, it should actually come out. So let's see if that is how it's going to work. Yep, there we go. Alright, so there's our crusty axle. It has been removed. And now obviously we need to take off all of the parts from this we are going to reuse. So let's see if this is going to be as quick and simple as I think it is. Alright, so that is our half axle on this side. And that's our whole hub assembly on that side. Alright, over here we need to find these two nuts again. Gonna take these apart. Alright, so there's the other one. So that's our other hub assembly. And let's just get this half axle out. Okay, it's already out. Alright, and this is going to go on our new axle, but I think to make things a little bit easier for us, we're going to mount this new one first of all. So let's get that into place. just like that, and bolt it down. All right, just like that. All right, so these trucks are actually very simple to work on once you know your way around them. So it took me a little bit of yeah, figuring out how everything goes together. But it's really not that hard. You just need to know which angle to approach everything to get to it, which is actually a good thing, because now at least we know how to work on these things. And there we go. So now we can get our front drive shaft back in. All right, and there we go. Let's bolt it up over there. Perfect. All right, so now the tie rod can probably not go on yet. We need to get the hubs installed, obviously. But before we do that, we need to get the half axles into place. So there's the new half axle for that side, and this one is a second-hand one. I look by the looks of it. So yeah, that is still fairly decent. All right, and it's just a matter of grabbing this thing at the right place. So this is the left-hand side. All right, so let's get that into position. I'm gonna bolt it down there and also there, and then we'll get our brake line back into place. All right, let's grab the opposite side. Right, so this is our passenger side hub, well, hub assembly for that matter. All right, and there's that, and we've got our brake line over there. Let's just bolt it up like that. Alright, so now the tie rod can go back on. Alright, and on this side. Alright, and steering box. I think it goes over there. Yeah, that is oh, there's another bolt at the top, I think. No, that's not for the steering box. Okay, but that's fairly good. It should hold it. Alright, and then this is our steering bar. And it goes onto there. And I think that is everything to make this truck basically mobile again. Alright, so let's get this thing lowered down. I'm gonna get some coolant in the radiator, and then we are going to see what this thing will do, if it's gonna actually fire up and move under its own power. I'm pretty sure it will. I don't think there's anything really that we missed. Alright, so let's get some coolant, and I'll bring you guys back up to speed once this has been topped off. Alright, so we've got the coolant as well as the brake fluid filled up now. The engine oil is still good, so I think we are ready to actually fire this thing up for the first time since we've got this engine installed. So let's hop in and yeah, let's just see what it does. We've got a very little fuel, which I think might actually be a little bit of a problem. We're gonna have to probably get some gasoline in this thing. So luckily I did go and fill up the jerry can. So let's give this a quick test and see where I put it first of all. I think it's actually outside. So we've got our jerry can over there. Alright, perfect. Let's bring this a bit closer. Alright, and we're gonna just fill it up with some gasoline. Alright, so we are back once again. So I had a bit of an issue with the gas tank over here. So apparently this thing is leaking and there was absolutely no more gas left in it, obviously. And yeah, when I checked the fuel gauge, it didn't work, it didn't show anything. So what I did is I had to go and replace the fuel tank. So I bought another gas tank and just installed it, and I think this one should do the job now. So there we go, we've got some gasoline in this truck, and I think we are ready to try and move this thing, but we do need to take note of Michael's car behind us. So we're not gonna go too far, we'll just go back and forth a bit. And yes, it does actually move under its own power now, which is good. That's not really something great because it was already running when it got here. We just basically stripped it apart and put it back together. But yeah, at least it's running again. So what I'm going to have to do now is try and maneuver a couple of things around in the yard. We need to try and get the Camaro into this bay over here, I think. Or actually we can try and put it on the two-post lift because that truck is going to paint. We need to move Michael's car out of the way a bit. I think what I'll do is I'll probably pull the Ram truck out. We're going to try and do it something like this. Get this car out of the way. Get the truck out. Get the Camaro in. And then we'll just put Michael's car under the roof there. And then we can get the truck loaded up onto the Ram truck for its paint job. But first I also need to come and air up my tires. So I think that's maybe the first thing I'm going to have to do. Let's get this Ram truck sorted out again. So that we can at least move it again. So yeah, I did buy myself one of these little air compressors. It's quite a handy little tool. Definitely a lot quicker than using the hand pump. Right, so let's just set our pressure to, I think on this one we're just going to go to 2, yeah, let's go 2 bar. So that should be good and should last a little while before it actually goes flat again. Alright, so that is on 2 bar, and this single wheel is also losing a bit pressure. Alright, that is decent. Alright, so let's get this moved out of the way first of all. We'll just put it here by the ladder wagon. Alright, let's jump in, get this thing fired up once again. Yep, there we go. It's a little bit high jumping in this thing. It's been lifted. Alright, and yeah, she cranks a little bit, but she eventually fires up and keeps going. Alright, let's just be sure to miss all of the vehicles. Alright, I think if we just put it over here for now. Alright, so let's get our handbrake up. Alright, so we need to get the Mustang out of the way first of all. So I'm going to put this car probably inside the bay directly. We're going to obviously have to move this Mustang. So let's put the Mustang in the ramp truck's parking. So this is a bit of a maneuvering stuff around the yard, especially if you've got such a small yard like I've got now. Alright, so let's get this thing fired up again. We've got to warm up the glow plugs, although there's no glow plug light. Alright, so let's move this thing. Alright, we'll put it over here on the Ram truck's parking for now. Alright, and yeah, this is actually ready to go back to the customer, so I should actually just phone him and tell him his car is ready. Alright, now we can move the big truck, Lance's truck, out of the way. And we can move the Camaro into the actual parking spot. We need to get it into this bay over here. Alright, so let's fire this thing up. Alright, and let's move back a bit. Alright, yeah, this is actually nice and out of the way if we left it on the grass, but I do want to get it up onto the ramp truck. So we'll just put it over here for now. Put the handbrake up and jump out quick. Alright, and now, last but not least, we just need to move the Camaro in under the carport or under the, yeah, under the roof. I hope I'm not going to fall down here. Alright, so this Camaro is also, yeah, it starts up quite easily. But it's very loud, so just bear with me. And also the brakes are kind of non-existent. Alright, so there's the Camaro up onto the two-post lift. Let's just push it back slightly. Alright, so yeah, this thing is actually way too far gone for a full restoration. As I said, we're just going to be converting this thing into a dragster. But I might do a little bit of work like replace the firewall, and that inner fender on this side will we'll go a little bit further than just fix this thing up a bit. As for back here, there's plenty of things missing, like the wheel wells, which actually gives us a little bit of space for wider tires, which is a good thing. So yeah, my idea for this thing is lift the rear, basically lower the front, get a nice high-powered engine installed. We'll get a proper transmission that can actually handle the torque we are going to be putting through this thing. We're going to get rid of some of the rust. We're going to give it a nice respray, and we're going to add some stickers to it. So yeah, we've got a couple of options of stickers we're going to be putting on this thing. Might actually add Allen's decals onto it as well, because yeah, obviously we're going to bring a little bit of yeah, what do they call it, marketing towards Allen's workshop. And we'll also maybe put on Luigi's stickers, because he also gave us a little bit of a head start when we got into town. And obviously we'll put our own little FUNCLE emblem that I just made for the shop. We'll put that on the car somewhere as well. And then obviously I'll check with Kyle what other decals or stickers he would like to have on this thing. So yeah, we're going to turn this thing into like a fully fledged race drag car. And hopefully it's going to be, yeah, something that's going to be competitive. So yeah, that is actually why we've got a budget of 33,000, because we need to sort out suspension. We need to order wheels and tires for this thing. We're going to need a lot of odd parts. Might actually have to do a new gas tank as well. So this thing is going to be a 1/4 mile shredder. So we're going to do the interior by just putting a roll cage in it. I don't think we're going to bother getting a dashboard for this thing. We're just going to make this thing a fully fledged race car. But yeah, looking at the time now, that is basically everything that we're going to have time for in this episode. So I think what I'm going to do is probably just pull this truck up onto ramp quickly, and then yeah, we'll greet you guys. So let's get this thing fired up quick, and we're going to try and do our best over here to get this thing loaded up onto our ramp truck. So when this is ready for, yeah, basically the paint job in the next episode, I'll probably get you guys over there and we'll get this thing sprayed in its final color. So if you have any thoughts or ideas of what color this thing is going to be, drop them in the comments down below. Tell me, what do you think? I think I already made my mind up what I'm going to make the color of this truck. But yes, do leave your comments down below. What do you think will look good on a dually truck like this? So obviously I've already got a pretty good idea, but yeah, it's just nice to see what you guys think as well. And yeah, this thing is quite close on the edge, but yeah, it'll be fine. We're gonna take it nice and slow. Alright, but yes, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate every view, every like. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. I will appreciate it very much. But yes, until the next time, cheerio.